Everyone, today I am making an Aphrodite themed mask this year for Mardi Gras, and Aphrodite is the goddess of love and beauty, so there's going to be a lot of hearts and swirls and prettiness. So what I did first was I planned out what I wanted it to look like, and then I traced it onto tinfoil and cut it out, pressed it to my face so it got a really nice form, about 4 layers thick of tinfoil. Then I cut out a bunch of strips, about 1 inch to 2 inches of casting material, and this is casting material that doctors use to make casts out of. And you could use paper mache if you want. It's pretty much the same outcome. I prefer to use this because the mask usually turns out a little thicker, but of course that depends on how many layers you put on. I usually like to put about 3 layers on the front and then 1 layer on the back of it. So all you do is you dip each piece into warm water and just place it onto the mask, and you can smooth out the corners. Now if you don't want these edges here, you just add a little more water and smooth it out like that. So just continue doing that, and then in between each layer you're going to want to press it to your face to make sure it's not losing its shape at all. And if you don't want to get the casting material all over your face, then you can just lay a wet paper towel over your face. So the next thing I'm doing is adding these little hearts onto the mask, and to make those all I did was cut out hearts about 6 or 7 layers, each one a little bit smaller than the next, of the casting material. Then just pile them up on top of each other from smallest to biggest.
Leave your mother alone.
Just like that. It doesn't matter if it's exactly perfect, but then just dip them all into the water, into the hot water together. You can leave them under there for a little bit longer so it has time for the water to sink in through all the layers. Then once you take it out, smooth the edges a little bit just so they blend with each other, because we have each layer smaller than the next, so it creates a 3D effect. So see from the side, it's like a bubbly kind of heart. Make sure the back is wet enough.
Uh-oh.
Alright, and then
Hello?
just stick it right to the mask.
Oh.
And just make sure your edges are blended really well. Then once you have all your casting material on, let it dry overnight, and then it'll be ready to paint.
Okay, good.
Now I'm ready to paint my mask, and I used a very light pink paint. Remember, the paint always dries a much, much darker shade than the original shade you put it on. So see, I used a very light pink and then some white paint and just made some swirls over there and down there. And I put on a very, very thick coat because I wanted the whole mask to have a very 3D feel. And next I'm going to paint the little heart. So I finished painting my heart now and all the little hearts, and I just did those like a light, bright gold. I put about probably 3 layers of paint on them because those hearts really tend to suck up the paint because it's so many layers of casting. And then I just sprinkled some gold flakes, sparkles, on top of those. And I didn't worry too much about getting it around the outside because it kind of gave it a cool effect, more concentrated on the hearts, and then a little bit around the outside. Then also, the other part of the mask is, well, one of the other parts of the mask is this, which is this just a set of lips, and that's out of casting material too. And how I made that was I tried to draw lips, and normally I'm decent at it, but I couldn't get it quite right. So instead I just put some lipstick on, kissed the paper, and then used that outline. I traced right outside of that so it wouldn't end up too small. And then I made it out of tin foil, just like normal. A few layers thinner though. I only used 2 layers of tin foil. Then, instead of just putting strips of casting on it, I actually cut out the shape of the lips and put the same as before, 3 on the front and 1 on the back. Then I painted that, I sanded that a little bit because I didn't want that one to be too rough. Then I put a layer of paint on, a layer of white paint, and now I'm going to put a layer of pink paint over that. Alright, so in between layers of paint, you do want to let each coat dry. Now this coat that I put on was really, really thick, so I let it dry for a while, and then I just topped it off with it's just clear glitter paint with some sparkles in it. Then the lips, I did paint them light pink, but I didn't really like that color, so I just painted over it with a much darker pink. And you really don't have to worry about how many layers of paint you put on. It won't come off or flake off, at least in my experience it hasn't yet. So now I'm just going to finish this one off with the same paint, so I just squeeze it on like that. Just paint it on. And all the little lines in this doesn't really matter because it will dry clear. So once it's painted on, then this one I just sprinkle with very fine glitter. And then once I'm finished with this, and then once it dries, I'm just going to spray all of this with an clear acrylic paint. Clear acrylic spray. And then I'll be able to finish what else I'm going to put on this one. So I finished putting all the different kinds of wire on and twisting them and shaping them and everything. And then I attached this half of the mask to this half of the mask. And I just did that with hot glue. First I lined this up with my eyes to make sure I had it in the right spot, because that's one eye and that's the other eye. And then just hot glued it on. I made a few little adjustments, such as taking this mirror piece off and then reattaching it over the wire, just so it looks like one cohesive piece rather than two different parts of mask put together. Then the other thing that I was just doing is putting these eyelashes on, which they're just pieces of wire. I cut each piece a little bit shorter than the last one. And how I put this on, I have one more to put on in the top, so just poke a hole into the casting, then bend in my piece of metal so that that's the part that'll go into the mask. Put a little dab of hot glue there. And then if I can find the hole, and then push it in there, and then turn it back right side up, and then shape it. And then if it's not the exact shape that I wanted, I just turned it over to the back, put some hot glue, and then just shaped it again from the outside. And now I'm just adding some little doodads onto this, such as these berries, so that the color of so that when I put on the lips, which the lips are going to go here, but so that when I put those on, the color, it'll tie that in. And then I'm also putting some of these little pink jewels on. They do have sticky backs, but I think I'll hot glue them just to be secure. Pink and some, I don't know, kind of goldish ones. And yeah. Alright, so I glued on my set of lips, and I added a few more jewels here and there. I put some more jewels on the eyelashes. And then I just took a regular dowel, a pretty small one, got some gold ribbon, and then I wrapped it around with a wire, a braided pink and gold wire. And there's my finished Aphrodite mask.
Hey!
It is. And it looks like on.